There's nowhere to quote Macho Man, so I don't even know where to fit in anymore.
Some guy walking around like named Craig Christ, and he's kind of taking credit for everything.
Rick had an aneurysm.
Jurassic Hog.
No kink shaming. Alrighty. Well, gentlemen, it is Brain Void, so that's what we're doing here today. As promised, we do have a guest, Justin. Welcome in, Justin. He is a family friend, and I'm assuming friend of the show since you're on it. So welcome. Take it away.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
What are your measurements? Let's start with that. Waist, hips.
32 double Ds.
Those are new.
It took a while to get them, but I got them.
But no, Justin is our cousin, Rick and my
Morty,
one of them, and he has had a podcast. Justin, you still have it? It's called SciCast, correct?
Yeah, 10 years ago. They're still on YouTube if you want to watch them, but they're crap.
You're a hell of a salesman.
Well, I mean, you just start a podcast and you got a budget of $20 and it might have been a 720p camera, maybe 1080p. I'm not sure.
10 years ago, that was hot shit.
Yeah, 1080p was spicy.
Yeah, that was an expensive handheld camera.
Rick, you made an appearance on that podcast, didn't you?
Yeah, so did you.
I
just never released them.
Oh yeah, we got the Vault podcasts. Today we got a lot of topics that we kind of want to get to. Some tailored to that of the flat earthers, folks that think the Earth is in fact 12,000 years old. I have a story I can kind of jump off from last week's episode if you're a fan, and moon landing deniers. Unless I already said that, in which case we'll talk about it twice.
And any other random conspiracies that might happen to crop up.
But yeah, so we'll just jump on into it. So I want to start with the lady that I was with a couple of years ago who thought the Earth was 12,000 years old based on religion. And again, I want to kind of preface by saying that she wasn't necessarily. I'm not going to insult her intelligence, but I think it's just the way you're raised, right? And really no fault of her own. She had a father who was a preacher man, if you will, and her dad was a preacher, and he kind of grew up. They grew up listening to him, listening to the stories, going to church. They were homeschooled, I think, for a little bit there. But then we got to talking one night, and we were going through things, and she's like, "Hey, do you believe in this, that, and the other thing?" I said, "I don't know. I struggle with it sometimes. I'm kind of looking for an answer myself." And then she dropped the old, I'm not going to say she dropped it, but we started talking about dinosaurs naturally. It's just kind of how my brain works, and she had explained to me like, yeah, well, they were put here to test the faith of. To test the faith of these folks that believe in this religion because the Earth is only 12,000 years old.
Is it 12 or 6?
I don't know. Maybe she doubled it and gave it to herself. I don't know.
Well, probably by the denomination.
So I was saying, what about dinosaurs, which are proven, I think carbon dated for upteen million years or whatever, 60 million years ago, right? Or something like that. And, she goes, well, those are just, those are tests. So people are walking around with these tests everywhere, and there's no in the Big Bang Theory and all that. So I just kind of wanted to get you guys' take on that. And like I said, the goal isn't to insult her intelligence, but maybe just to open up a dialogue. So if you're out there listening to this and maybe that is what you think, maybe just we'll void your brain a little bit, right? We'll void our brain into your brain, and we'll see what happens. Rick?
Well, Thank you.
Why do you smart people headed off? I'm not smart enough. I'm just going to bitch about dinosaur deniers because, how would you deny a T-Rex? Like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, you're going to talk to me about how that didn't exist and that isn't real? It's like the coolest goddamn thing that was ever real. You're going to say it wasn't real? Come on, man. Come on.
Well, they believe it's real, just the date of when they died out is different, correct?
Well, I'm going off of what Eric said. He said that she said. This is a game of telephone over a podcast, so what the hell knows what that means. But she said, according to Eric, that dinosaurs are fake and were put here as a test to test your faith. And the problem I have with that is you can find these fossils. Anyone can. And it's not just dinosaurs. There are trees that are still alive that are older than the claim that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. There's life that's still alive now that's older than that. And you can't only deny that dinosaurs ever existed or the time frame in which they existed. You also have to deny those life forms and every other single life form that no longer exists. And you also have to account for those life forms within 6,000 years. That is more unbelievable than having more time to have that stuff crop up, have a mass extinction, and die out. Right? To have all of this life come and go in 6,000 years, to me, is more extraordinary than the prevailing, what we in reality like to say is real.
Yeah. So I guess, so is the idea, I guess I really didn't understand it too when I was having the conversation with her, but is the idea that it was put here and we have like science and things like that as just ultimate faith testers. So like you said, Rick, so they just aren't real. Like it's not like, I know to Justin's point, he said that they're not saying that they're not real, but I think in her point of view that they're not real. Like it's almost like just fake matter that was put here because they knew it was going to be discovered, and now it's going to test your faith. And we have all the science to back it, quote unquote, back it. And we have like carbon dating and things like that people can reference to justify, how it got to where it was. I think in her mind, she's thinking that it's just put there, and there's no, like, it didn't actually exist. It just was put there, and now it's a test.
I struggle with that way of thinking because in every other aspect of people with those beliefs in their lives, they rely on the scientific method. To use their phone requires the tried and true method of science. To get satellites in orbit, to bounce the signals off and do all this happy stuff, to the medical advances we made over the years, all of it relies on the same method that archaeologists have used to compile this knowledge, so that to just hand wave it away out of hand is just claimed without evidence, can be dismissed without evidence. So you're saying it out of hand that, oh, this was just put here by a test. Well, you need to prove to me that this was a test. And what kind of God would mislead so many fucking people?
So that could be another issue, though. Is did God put it there, or did the pastor, let's say, put it there so that he can test his flock? Like, oh, we found this. It's dinosaur bones, but they don't really exist. Or has it always just been they find it and they say God put it there to test us? Or could be Satan, I suppose. Satan put it there.
Who created Satan and knows everything about everything that everything and everyone's going to do? It's God.
You can go pretty deep into the fallen angels. That whole side story of the biblical story.
Yeah, no. So yeah, that's the thing too. Is at what point are you just walking around in the woods and you stumble across a dinosaur bone, and then you bring it to somebody and like, well, that's just to test your faith and whatnot. Like, where does that kind of come into teaching? So like to Justin's point, did the pastor put that there to like make a test or like something that people can learn from it, use it as an example for future generations? Then it kind of got molded into this whole idea that, well, God put it there. Well, no. Did in your mind, did a man put that there to test you, to be like, this thing will happen? It's like it's like a biblical cold plunge. Those kind of tests will strengthen your mind for these real world examples, and maybe that's the goal there in mind. But obviously, I think we all know, or at least we're all on the same page, that dinosaurs did in fact exist. Now, to what extent, I'm not sure, but like as far as fossils and things like that coming across, I mean, they made a whole movie about it, which is basically a documentary, a whole series. I think Jurassic Park, and that was pretty cool. And so that was easy to follow for me, at least. And hey, Justin, I think you have a tattoo of something similar to what was expressed in the. That's right, baby.
That's right. It's Isla Nublar with a mosquito trapped inside,
where they got that dino DNA. I just think that it's crazy to think of, and we can move past this a little bit too, because I don't think we have the answers for it. But just to even think about dinosaurs in general, I would say that the idea that these giant things existed roaming the earth at one point, and then I think too, I heard that the chicken was kind of evolved from dinosaurs. Is that correct? Like Tyrannosaurus Rex, like they were.
Chicken is the closest living relative to the T-Rex.
A descendant.
Oh, gotcha. So it's like some guy walking around like named Craig Christ, and he's kind of taking credit for everything. Or like, that's my family. No.
Oh, you could.
All right, Rick.
One thing before we move on that I wanted to add, I strongly think that it's just intellectual laziness to just hand wave away shit like this and say, "Oh, God did it," because that's the answer for everything. Then you don't need to be curious about fuck all if that's the case.
Yeah, because I'm assuming they don't usually do open dialogues at these churches with the scientific community and say, hey, these bones don't exist. I mean, they're not real. So they just kind of cement their argument in their own mind, and they don't get any competing ideas. Therefore, they repeat these ideas and say, well, nobody that I know in my community says anything elsewise. Why would I believe otherwise? I go to this school and all the textbooks tell me this. Why would I believe otherwise? So I wouldn't say I fault them, but I also would fault them for closed-mindedness.
To me, that's the whole structure that just kills curiosity. So I don't blame the person, but it's been essentially beaten out of them to be curious about shit and and not feel bad about it. Like, oh, this was a test and you failed. Oh, I better not fail again. I better not question. I better not.
You want to be put on the naughty list.
Right. Yeah. You're going to be fucking burned forever. Again, it's intellectually lazy and like slapping those people's hands since they could ask the questions as a kid, to me, is child abuse. Full stop.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that that they're just strong in their convictions and things like that, so you couldn't chalk it up to like they're maliciously trying to, I guess for lack of a better word, brainwash these folks. It's just something that they've just been ingrained with. So you have to go to the source, right? And then that's kind of who's at fault if there is any. But I also kind of think that it's any religion out there is an answer to a question that we can't answer, right? So it's like, well, there's got to be a reason that we're all on this planet, and I think that's just their way of justifying. I mean, it obviously is their way. I mean, I'm not saying anything that you guys don't know already, but like religion is just the kind of like you said, the intellectually lazy way to kind of say, oh, because God. Like it's all just because there's a big plan. We don't know the plan. We'll find out when we die. And I think that's a cop out because, something could be beyond, potentially. And if that is the case, then the question is answered, but you can't share that obviously with the living. So there's nothing to, get the answer for. And then you have the other ways, like if you die and nothing happens, then you have no accountability as far as preaching what you've been preaching when you were alive. So it's kind of like a good way to just get through life without, I don't know. I'm running out of thought here, but
I would just quote Christopher Hitchens in that religion was humanity's first attempt at philosophy. And because it was the first, it more than often than not was the worst. So it doesn't explain things very well, but it was an explanation. Now we're more capable than to just say God did it. And I think that if you're going to do the God of the gaps argument, that gap is getting smaller every day as we make discoveries and as we make advancements in our understanding of how the world works and the universe and our place in it. I don't know. To me, again, it's just intellectually lazy and it's incurious and it's not a good enough answer in my opinion.
Then you have those same folks too. Speaking of not good enough answers, well, I know a lot of people on the other side, that are religious and whatnot. And we're not saying this isn't like a bash religion podcast, but I know a lot of folks close to me that are religious, and so they'll have that as the answer for the biggest question, that is, why are we here? What are we meant to do? But then they'll poke holes in everything that is simple to answer, like the moon landing, for instance, or Project Bluebeam, and they'll just create these answers to simple questions like the JFK assassination. Rick, I think you're the one that always quotes whoever said it. The simple answer is probably the most accurate answer, right? Whereas you have this long-winded, this is what happened. This person was involved. That person, these people. It's like, well, at the end of the day, if the more weak links in the chain, it's more apt to break, and then the truth is exposed, and that hasn't happened. And throughout, let's just use the JFK assassination for an example. Like it's been 60 years now, 61 years since that happened. I think, if my math is right, 61 years, and we got to a point where there's still a lot of things blacked out on all the documents and things like that, but there's no I know who did it, and I'm on my deathbed, and now I'm going to tell you because I felt guilty for the last 60 years, So we don't have that kind of other shoe dropping. Rick?
So the quote Eric was talking about is the answer with the fewest assumptions is usually the correct one, right? The simplest answer is usually the right one. Where if you have to start making assumptions like fucking armies of people, like with the moon landing, everyone's in on it, right? All of NASA's in on it. Okay, obviously you've never had to coordinate a group project before. That's not how this works.
And Zach, feel free to jump in anytime here.
I'm not even the smart one, dude. I'm not the smart one. I'm just trying to get smart here. Any listener will know that I am the stupidest person on this fucking coming into your ears right now. There's nowhere to quote Macho Man, so I don't even know where to fit in anymore.
I think so with the moon landing, I think the biggest thing for me would be, okay, there was an obvious space race, right, between Russia and America, and there was a lot on the line as far as like showing your power and whose wiener is bigger as far as, that goes. So I could see that there could be an argument made that, hey, it was probably faked in 1969. That's when it happened, right? 1969.
Nice.
And and JFK said in his speech, like, we'll be on the moon by the end of the decade. So they waited till June of 1969 to get it done, and we were in a space race. So you could argue that, yeah, we expedited that process, but potentially made it there in the future, right? I'm not sure. Was that the last manned space mission? I wasn't prepared for this. Obviously,
that was the first one.
That was the first one. Okay.
That was the first one, but we have the whole international space. Like, we just send people up into space all the time. Like, not to the moon, but
yeah.
Also, fun fact, that moon landing is where the discipline of software engineering was invented. Fun fact. There. That's my fun fact. Oh, yeah.
Back when they used to knit their fucking circuits, they would fucking literally knit the fucking circuitry for the shuttle. Or not the shuttle, the Apollo missions.
For the electronics. Well, and all the code was handwritten. It was basically, I think back then it was on punch cards. So, like those little tests, you'd fill out the little, it was all on punch cards. You'd have to fucking file that in there. If I'm remembering correctly, I'm not totally sure when assembly code or machine code totally would have been written as we know it now. It actually might have been around that time. I'm not totally sure, to be honest, but yeah, man, it was very, very primitive, and we launched someone to the fucking moon, and now we have more power than that, in our cell phones at all times.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Our fucking calculators.
I would say it took there's probably more RAM in my fucking calculator sitting over here than there was in the goddamn spaceship.
If they made it to the moon, why didn't they ever go back?
There was no incentive to. It was ungodly expensive to get to the moon. And after you beat the Russians there, all right, we did it. There's really no point in coming back again. They did even go back a few times, but eventually the program ran out of steam and money, and so they're like, well, we don't need to keep paying for this, so let's just not.
They did try.
Right.
You got
NASA wasn't the one deciding that. It was Congress.
Because you have the moon landing, which was the Apollo 11, and then of course they got the movie Apollo 13, where they tried but failed.
Yeah, they tried to fake it and they failed at it.
They tried really hard and they just blew a bunch of people up instead.
Fucking Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Tom Hanks fucked it up for him.
He had a good run.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just worth talking about, but then also it's interesting hearing what the conspiracy theorists will say about that, and the moon made of cheese. It's a projection.
So to go along with that, it's slowly coming back to me, all these little details about this situation, where in the case of, what was that movie director's name? He's a very famous movie director, but he was pioneering rear projection for his movies. And so they were trying to set up how they could fake the moon landing. Some of the footage of the astronauts look kind of funky with the physics. And they're saying, the background is just rear projection of, space. And then they're just jumping on a trampoline or something like that. God, there was a nice video on it that I saw.
Stanley Kubrick,
that's the one. That he was the one hired by NASA to fake the moon landing is one of the prevailing theories.
He accidentally made The Shining instead.
He fucked around and found out.
No, that was his resume.
Yeah.
Now he works at NASA.
Yeah, look, I made this. And they're like, do you want to shoot a movie about space? It's called Armageddon. Aerosmith is going to be in it.
Yeah. So I don't know. But okay, so what do you guys say about like, well, they called from a landline. What do you guys say to that? Because I don't dive into it too much, but when I see it on my TikTok feed, I humor it because I'm like, okay, let's just hear it. And then it's usually just some guy like me, Alex Jones on a rant, things like that. And he's just usually going,
Return to
I'm
frog
gonna eat your leftist ass.
freaking frog's gay. So it's usually
You fucking understand that?
and God, he is something, huh? We'll get into that maybe later. But so it's usually somebody like that going off on a rant, and I just kind of listen, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. If I'm just a casual viewer like I am, and I'm scrolling across that, and I don't really have a strong opinion one way. I mean, I do, but I'm just saying, your average bear might not, or they don't care enough. So they're like, okay, yeah, well, it was fake then. So what do you say to the guys that are like, well, Nixon or whoever called on a landline to the moon?
Well, I mean, I think you can. I mean, so the landline that he's got and is, goes to a radio transmitter and it goes to the moon wirelessly.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's how it works.
See, that was my first assumption, and I have a certain faith that the White House potentially does have more technology than your average landline phone in America at the time. So
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Well, it's an early version of voice over IP. Like that's what we use now. Like everyone's phone. Like I bet you got like Eric. I'm willing to bet your phone at work since you're like a fucking desk jockey. I would bet. I would bet all my money, which is not a whole lot to be fair. Your landline phone or your interoffice phone is just connected to Skype, or Microsoft Teams or something like that. It's just voice over IP. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's just the standard now. Like every landline, like if you have a landline in your house, first of all, go to Verizon and say, I would like a cell phone, please. They have ones for you. They have like 4 buttons for old people.
They have satellite phones. Imagine a satellite phone, but like probably the size of this fucking room that I'm in. And that's what they use to communicate to the moon.
Well, that's exactly it. Like, yeah, it's just and like satellite phones were a thing. I remember before cell phones were big, like, and you had to pay like $1,000 a minute for like goddamn international calls. Like, God forbid you have fucking grandma that lives like overseas. You're just paying out your fucking asshole to try and have a conversation about her, and she like won't shut up about the lasagna she made and whatever. Like, I remember back then, you had to have, if you were doing a lot of long distance, you had to have a satellite phone, which was a separate thing, and they looked like you could throw them like a brick. Like they were just fucking huge and unwieldy, and they always looked very like utilitarian. Like it's something you'd start a revolution with, like you'd throw a brick through a window and then be like, viva, whatever. And then all of a sudden, like everyone would burn down half of Minneapolis.
Why were they speaking French?
I don't fucking know. I'm like, I told you I was dumb. All right. Coming into this, I told you I don't know what the fuck I'm on the wrong podcast. I think I dialed the wrong number. Where's the fucking autism cast? This is not it.
I'll get to that.
Tism cast.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's an obvious one, I think, as far as like the landline situation and whatnot. The Stanley Kubrick situation, I think, in the community of the deniers holds the most clout, just because I could see a wire. How come there's 2 shadows? Things like that. There's no atmosphere, and every other planet has an atmosphere and shit like that.
There's
so,
the goddamn sun.
Rick had an aneurysm.
You can't just bring up 3 of their fucking points and just gloss over them and not let me address them. Jesus Christ.
So anyway, they say all this stuff and it sounds right to me. So
let's change subject.
Now that we all know that the moon landing was fake.
Okay, Rick, so which one do you want to dissect first? We can spend about 5 more minutes on
the fucking shadows.
The shadows.
Okay, let's hear it. Shadows, flag. There's 2 on both sides.
Go stand on railroads, on a railroad, and look
until
off
a train comes.
No, yes. but first, before the train comes, look at the rails and notice how off in the distance they look like they're converging to a single point. The argument with the shadows is that the shadows are going in different directions, as if hills don't fucking exist on the moon, or craters, or any of that other shit. If you were to zoom far enough away, all the shadows are going in the same directions, Go watch the MythBusters episode on fucking moon landings. They picked this apart better than I could in 5 minutes. But it's been thoroughly debunked with the shadows. That's just how. Yes, you're wrong. Stop it.
Well. So the shadows, sure, you got me there. But who recorded the thing taking off from the moon? Did you just leave a guy there?
No, they had a camera that was remotely controlled on the fucking foot of their fucking lander.
In 1969?
Yes, in 1969.
No, I'm going to say there's still a guy up there. They shoot him food every now and then.
Guys? Yeah. I didn't hear cut.
Are you going to come get me? It's cold.
So watch your laser pointers, kids.
Yeah, you might hit the guy on the moon.
Okay, the final nail in the coffin. Final nail in the coffin for any fucking moon landing denier is the fact that you can literally shoot a fucking laser at the moon, and the reflector they left up there will shoot it back to you, and it'll tell you how far away the fucking moon is. That's how we know it's drifting away at 3 centimeters a year or some shit.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
it feels like a lot.
It might be a lot. Maybe it's millimeter.
I was making a wiener joke. What did you say, Zach?
You made another wiener joke.
It's like one penis a year. But don't tell my wife. My wife knows 3 centimeters is about 6 or 7 inches. So just
wait. You guys know 3 centimeters?
That's the conversion. That's why we're not switching to metric.
Yeah, she's not familiar enough with the metric system.
How many first downs is that?
God damn it. Oh no. I think we need an American measurement system. It'll consist of things like first downs, like 1 football length. We'll replace the foot with 1 football. We'll standardize it as a football length. Yeah, freedom. I mean, what the fuck is a kilometer anyway, dude? So happy we have an American in Formula One now, so we can make that joke.
Yeah, if you break open a kilo of cocaine and you can just drag it behind you, and that's how long a kilometer is.
Oh, there it is.
It's 1 kilo length.
Justin, you're broadcasting our ignorance. Stop it.
Did we just go away from the metric system just because America wanted to be America, or was there an actual solidified
reason? Start with the metric. I
looked up the reason, but I forgot what it was.
So speaking of wieners, we can stay on the topic of Alex Jones. Have you guys ever heard? I'm sure you have of the and this isn't one of the things that we talked about. We're going to talk about, so I'm just kind of throwing it at you right now. So get ready, it's coming. About the Bohemian Grove. Have you guys seen that? And what are your thoughts on that? The fact that he snuck into it, recorded it, and they potentially saw a sacrifice or something. I don't know. I don't know. Blair Witchy. To give some more information, some context here, it's been rumored and I think even confirmed that the quote unquote elites meet there once a year or so, and they talk to a giant owl and they say, "Hey," and then they burn something or something, and so they have a bunch of rich people that show up there, and Alex Jones snuck in, the security wouldn't be high there. And he recorded it on your average at the time video camera in 1999 or something like that. So he snuck in, recorded it, and he got the sacrifice on camera. There was a flame, people yelling, chanting. There was an owl, like I said earlier.
He probably wore a horse mask to get in.
Dude, first of all, that sounds incredible. First of all, it sounds like the best party I'd ever go to, hands down. Straight up, giant owl, burning shit. I bet the snacks were fucking on point. I bet it sounds great. But I want the one thing I want to focus on here is Alex Jones snuck in. So this overweight, not athletic, drunk guy with a voice like this snuck somewhere, snuck. To be sneaky, the verb means to move without being detected. And you're gonna say that Alex Jones was able to travel more than 10 feet without screaming about gay people or something, or about all the lawsuits against him. He saw this grove of all these people and this owl and all this shit, and he didn't try to sell them supplements full of lead. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a fucking minute. He would not be able to to contain himself. Be listen, ignore the lead warnings. They're totally fine. They're gonna save you. It's full of the fucking colloidal silver shit. You don't need the COVID vaccine. It's fine. It's fine. And you, owl, be careful for the water. They're making the frogs gay, and they'll make you gay too. Like, he would just flip tits. There's no way he kept his cool.
So I will say that there is a real video out there though, and I don't know. You can kind of hear him in it a little.
Just him heavily breathing.
Yeah, pretty much. But they snuck into it, and there's a video of it, and you do see the owl, you do see the flames, and there are a bunch of people that are chanting. Now, what that is about, I'm not sure. Is it elite? You can't tell. It's inconclusive, right? But he's been using this, and a while ago, and I'm not sure how much clout I want to put to it, but he did predict the Epstein Island, things like that too, or not predicted, but he talked about it, I guess, openly before anybody else really did. So I'm not sure if he's like in like actually aware of the situation. I'm not sure what you guys think about that either, that whole thing. But I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting topic because we have this man who's really convinced that he's right about a lot of things, right? And there's a lot of people like that too on that kind of side of the diplomatic aisle or whatever the fuck aisle. See, I'm not smart enough to have this conversation either. People that don't agree with it doesn't matter. So he's strong his convictions in that way, and these people will almost like. I mean, he's defamated him. You know, he's gotten himself in a lot of trouble with the Sandy Hook situation, and it's like, dude, like how can you are you lying enough to the point where you just start believing it yourself, or what's the deal? Are you mentally ill? And you know, if you are, please get help. You know, I'm not making fun of you if you are, but you know what I mean. So I just kind of like, what is that? Because I see a lot of in that demographic, that age group of, let's say, late 40s to early 70s or so. They're just typing in all capital letters all the time. They're always wearing sunglasses, short haircuts, the same kind of picture on Facebook. You see it all the time. It's the same person in a different body. So I'm just wondering, where does that come from? And where does it go? Where does it come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Cotton Eye Joe sounds like one of their names, too. Like it could be one of their names. I'm just saying.
Look, as far as Alex Jones being quote unquote right on a few things, even a fucking pig will dig up a truffle now and again. Like
broken clock right twice a day.
Yes, yeah. Insert saying here. The fact that he did make all those accusations about Sandy Hook and like was just utterly fucking wrong about that. It tells me he's not smart enough to be like actually on the inside of anything and know what the fuck he's talking about. He's pulling shit out of his ass, and once in a while it happens to kind of align with reality. As far as this Bohemian thing, I don't know much about it, and so I'm going to reserve judgment until I can learn more about it.
It sounds like a cool party. He stumbled across a cool party. Like, it's like when you're in high school and you don't get invited to parties because you're not one of the cool kids, and so you try to kind of sneak in, and they're like, dude, what the fuck? Like, Zach, what are you doing here? And I'm just like, and they just have to like haul me out by my fucking cock because I'm not supposed to be there. So he didn't get invited to a party. He heard about the party and he went there. And he's like, there's a fucking owl here. And then they were like, oh, it's fucking Alex again. God damn it. Like, security, like, get this dumb cocksucker out of here. He just was screaming about the owl. And then he goes on his radio show and gets wasted, drinks a fucking, you know, a bunch of Jack Daniels and screams at his staff. And then he yells into a microphone for 3 hours and people listen to him. But like, I think he truly knows he's lying and doesn't care because like, look at the paycheck that has come with that. Like, I'm fairly certain Alex grew up like a rich kid. I think his dad was like involved in the media somewhere, somehow to like get him in that job. I forget. So someone should fact check me, but it's just a thing where like he has these researchers, you know, that have been grilled you know, during the Sandy Hook lawsuit and things like that. They'll just like, yeah, well, I just kind of found something on the internet and then I just told Alex that like Sandy Hook wasn't real. And then he reported it and I don't know what I did wrong, you know, is kind of the thing. So yeah, I don't know. I just think he's just an openly like a piece of shit, and it'd be even more fun to laugh at him if he wasn't like actively dangerous to like the world.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. There are a lot of folks out there that kind of take his rants as fact, and I don't know. How do you rationalize? Like, how do you have a rational conversation with somebody that's like him, for lack of anything else to compare it to? Like, you just have this guy that's just red faced, fucking yelling at you about everything, you're like, hey, no, actually, you missed this part. Here's more information. Here's
If-
what explains that in a logical way. Like, is there any way to navigate a
If
conversation?
you're
with somebody
talking to
like
somebody who reached a position irrationally, or illogically or whatever, there's no way to reason them out of that because they got there without reason. So they're not going to leave there with reason. It's just it tends to be a lost cause unless they're willing to hear you out, unless they're in good faith, which I don't think Alex Jones would be. So there isn't a way.
My way is I just pull my dick out and yell louder. Justin, do you have any input?
Life finds a way.
Yeah, do you have any suggestions for me? I get a lot of like letters from the police that I need to put my penis away in public is kind of what that results in. So yeah, I'm looking for advice.
Jurassic Hog.
Gonna get some Tyrannosaurus sex. That's when I turn on the Jurassic Park main theme song and try to fuck my wife. He tells me to go home, go to bed by myself.
It's rough. It's all teeth.
I learned from the T-Rex, dude. I don't know how else to do it. We like to role play where I trap her in the car and then I stomp all the windows in and she screams at me. It's a lot of fun.
The neighbors
I
get
get rock
concerned.
hard. Yeah, the neighbors stare at us. So I'm just naked with my dong out in the driveway.
And so the letters.
Well, flat Earth.
That's the next one.
Yeah.
I was trying.
We needed an Eric segue at some point. Otherwise, my memes don't make sense anymore.
Yeah, the flat Earth.
It's from somebody who likes the Yuletide video game. It's kind of an interesting concept when we see like the AI images of flat Earth and things like that, and you see like it's just like it's Earth, but interesting to talk about. But obviously, we all have the information and pictures and just proof that the Earth is not in fact flat, and then the other planets are not as well. So it's just kind of like are we still there? We had fucking people navigating the oceans, and I'm just going to say 1492 because that's the rhyme.
Christopher
And
Columbus.
they would draw it as that's right, baby. The OCC, and he would fucking they would map shit like that just from like a wooden ship navigating these seas, and you're the asshole, fucking 600 to 1,000 years later saying no, it's flat. It's all flat. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think about that when people say that the Earth is flat? God.
I think it's they get a lot of circumstantial evidence and they put these little pieces together, and it's easier to see that the Earth is flat if you're like, hey, just look outside. You don't see a curve, do you? No, I don't see a curve. You've been on a plane? Well, I've been on a plane, but I can't see out the window. There's clouds out there.
Did you watch do you see the Beyond the Curve documentary?
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Go fucking watch it. It's hilarious.
Especially where they find the evidence that contradicts what they're saying.
Yes, they conduct an experiment.
Multiple in that movie, I think.
Well, the big one, the big reveal is right at the end of the movie where they conduct the laser experiment, shooting it across a fucking lake, and they prove that the Earth is a globe. And they're like, huh.
Oh, the instruments must be wrong.
And then it's a fucking laser. How could it be fucking wrong? So I highly encourage all of our listener to go watch that movie.
All right, I'll go listen. So I'll go watch it again. Sorry. You don't have to tell us on the recording. You can just tell me I'm here right now.
Yeah, what else is there? We're surrounded by a mountain range, 360 degrees, and they don't let planes fly over there, so you can't prove that there's nothing over there on the other side of this mountain range. I've heard that one.
Antarctica.
Well, that's where a lot of it is. But obviously, if you've got it around the entire... Okay, so if it's a flat Earth, it's got to be a disc, right? It's got to be a circle. It can't be a globe. It's got to be a circle. So you have a mountain range that goes all the way around all the land. either way if you go north or south or east or west. So if you take a flight from here and just head towards Africa and just keep going, you're going to hit a mountain range, but then they'll tell you to turn around. You won't just keep going back to where your airport was, like you can. But it's tough to prove that because people have to chart their own flights to do all this. They got to raise money because airplanes aren't cheap, especially if you want those first class private jets. So
Right. That's really the only way to debunk, any of it. I have a couple of points. So my biggest question to a flat earther would be, show me your working model of how everything works that we can observe on Earth. Explain a sun setting, right? Because if the Earth is a plane and the sun is following a track overhead, we should never see a sunset. We should never see the moon go away. It should just go off in the distance and come back. Show me one model that can demonstrate how lunar eclipses and solar eclipses work in the flat Earth. A lunar eclipse, you always, when the Earth goes in front of the sun, in between the moon and the sun, you can see the Earth's shadow on the moon, and it's always a circle. The only thing that always produces a circle is a sphere. I observed Venus transition over. I watched that happen. Explain where Venus is to me in your model. If the Earth is flat and this is a firmament, explain how I fucking saw that if the sun is 3,000 miles away.
It's a projection.
Projections don't make shadows.
Dude, the projections make the
What's it being
shadows.
projected on?
The government.
In order to be... All right.
No, I'm just saying.
You still had shit on that one when you pulled it out of your ass.
No, so that's what I'm saying though. But like these people, Rick, they're not. You can't be like, explain front thing. If you, I will say this, you can't really argue in a way where it's like explain that to me because obviously they can't and they won't because
right. I'm not gonna. Then I'm gonna dismiss you, right? If again, it's the same thing I said earlier.
I'm just thinking. Like, okay, so we all saw the meme where, flat earthers are all across the globe. Like, we've all seen that, right? Where it kind of contradicts itself right away. But I just think just from a standpoint of, like everyone's in on it. This is the whole thing going back to the JFK assassination thing, where you have
and NASA
an entire group of people that are government agencies that are, thousands of people, thousands of employees, and they're all in on it. Like nobody makes enough money. If you're an HR coordinator at NASA and you're making as much as I make, motherfucker, I'm telling everybody everything all the time. And that's going to be my main job. I'm going to be the next, factual Alex Jones if NASA is behind all this conspiracy and things like that as far as projections, Project Bluebeam. There's things out there now that they're faking aliens, and that's just to get us all on New World Order. So I'm very much on that side of TikTok, and I kind of like it there. Yeah, no, I just kind of shotgun a shitload of things at you. But this is something when I'm zooted at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, it's a dry January, I'm zooted and I'm watching all this shit. And I'm like, holy monkey, man, all this is happening right before me, and I can't control it. So I need someone smarter to kind of dissect it for me.
Elon is the richest fucking person in the world. And even he outed himself that he's a fucking asshole in real life. He couldn't fucking keep it secret. Right? He wasn't paid enough money to fucking keep that part of his life fucking quiet enough. He couldn't pay enough money to anyone else to shut the fuck up. He offered fucking unicorns and horses and shit and wouldn't keep people silent. You think a government agency could keep thousands of people quiet across the fucking planet? Remember, this isn't just NASA. This isn't just one government. It's governments, right? There's JAXA, Japan's equivalent of NASA. There's a fucking Indian Space Agency. There's all of these other organizations that are all saying the same fucking thing. And what is their motivation behind lying about it? Controlling
Dude,
what?
My favorite thing in the world, my favorite goddamn thing in the world would be like if the United States as a whole, our stance was like, dude, this bitch is flat. And all of a sudden, like Japan and India, they just came out there like, dude, no, it's not. And like that was the press release. Like it was a press release from like all the other space agencies. That was just like, dude, no, it's not. Signed like all these like 15 fucking other space agencies.
Yeah. So to Rick's point, going back here to the yeah, that's another thing too. We got all these fucking other guys trying to figure their shit out. Like, didn't China just? It was China or India. One of them just made it to the moon not too long ago, right?
Yeah, and they're upside down.
That's because they're communist.
What did they do? Upside down?
They're fucking
Their lander
communist
landed
upside down.
Oh, did it?
Oh no. They had that fucking Tesla auto park technology.
So they had two landers. They had the separate lander land, and it and they had another thing make a couple passes as it was descending, and it fucked up. It caved under the pressure and fucking landed upside down.
Oh,
I have an audience. Fuck. You know?
Well,
software by OceanGate.
Yeah. Didn't.
It's just, I don't know. We have these. It's such a so in the moment when we have these conversations organically, I feel like we're very much like, oh, we can do this, we can do this, we can do that. But when it's kind of in this kind of setting, it's in a way we're in an echo chamber because we all kind of agree on this topic, and it's hard to like get an outside perspective on it. Like, okay, so you're a flat earther, what? Like, why and how did you get there, and who are you talking to? Like how did you get to this natural point in your life where you think that after all of this, all this technology that we have, all the maps, all the globes, everything that's out there, and you're gonna come to me, and you're you know, as you are, Nirvana, and you're gonna tell me that it's a flat Earth? You know what I mean?
I think we need to get 3 o'clock zooted Eric on the podcast.
Yeah,
he can be our devil's
we're
advocate.
Doing a fucking we're doing a fucking late night brain void one of these times. Eric's just gonna get shitty fucked up, and we're gonna pop on at 3 a.m. and he's gonna scroll through TikTok and in real time just commentate stuff, and me and Rick will just have to wrestle him on it.
You know,
I think that'll be it.
I'm okay with that because I just feel like I go into low power mode when I'm, you know, having fun.
Whoa.
California sober, you know, one of those. And yeah, so I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to think. I keep kind of coming back to the same sentence starter, but I don't know. It's almost disheartening, and I think it shows a regression in. And I can only speak for the United States, really, because that's where I am. It's a regression of like intelligence, and we see the fact that, you know, we have impressionable kids that are learning from their parents, and their parents are being louder now. And I think we talked about it before. Like they're being squeaky wheels at this point because they had a guy in office where he was very much an enabler of that, and if not a promoter. There you go. Sorry, words are tough today. Yeah. Yeah. But then we have, you know, Donnie T fucking sleeping, falling on the keyboard and all that shit, all caps, you know, saying a bunch of shit on Twitter, I guess, for those of you playing at home. But so I think that kind of, it's almost like I don't know, like an awakening of stupidity, because people found out that they can say stuff and they can just yell at you until you are done talking to them, and then they're right in their mind, and then they start building up this momentum as far as conversations go, and then they become, you know, my parents, and then you just cannot get around that.
I'm not touching that one. I'm not part of that family. I'm the only not relative in this fucking room. I'm not touching that one.
I don't want to touch it either.
Eric, you're on your own.
Yeah, you got to see him again at some point. The family reunion's about to get fucking awkward. Yeah, I'm going to ask you directly, Justin, what do you think about that? What do you think about Eric and Rick's parents? Be explicit.
Like I gotta go.
You're breaking up, Zach.
You guys hear that? Sounds like an airplane crashing.
Boy, it sounds like I don't want to. I don't want to be here anymore, dude. My fucking brother-in-law believed in chemtrails for a while. I don't know why. I just know that he did. He also really got into like goddamn essential oils, which are not essential. They just smell nice.
Yeah.
Their house smelled great for a while though.
They're optional.
Whole rack.
They're
All
optional oils.
Oh, that's my experience. Like, I don't have the same level of experience with conspiracy theorists that like everyone else in this room seems to. 'Cause, that's my extent, and I never had one conversation about it. And like usually, like I'm the guy yelling conspiracy theories to like be funny, you know. But I mean, of course, we obviously know that like Epstein didn't kill himself and Tupac is still alive. But like, other than those, though, I'm still waiting on that album, Pac.
What a lazy son of a no. So
I know.
At least one single. Come on.
Yeah, come on, give me something to live for.
I just want to talk about the Epstein thing just to get a general feel of the room here. So
I think he's a silly island boy. I think that's
yeah, but okay,
that's
so all the conspiracies aside, let's delve into some undisputable facts, right? So we have he was very much into the underage ladies, right? And he has political power in a way that's for not being a politician. And he very much had an island, right, that people would go to, whether they were doing nefarious activity or not. That is still to be found out, I guess. So I'm just thinking, there's a lot of mystery surrounding it, and I think this is where people start creating their own answers to the mystery. And you have so obviously Zach, like you said, he didn't kill himself, or he did, whatever the fuck you said. But the conspiracy is that he was murdered or whacked by the Clintons or something like that. And then you have hello,
Whoa!
Maxwell.
Don't hurt yourself. Jesus.
Ghislaine.
That was
You only pronounce her name once a month.
that was funnier in my head, I think. But
Sounded like you threw up.
But then you have Maxwell, who who went into hiding after Epstein was found out and convicted and killed, whether that was by his own doing or not. And she went into hiding, and they found her and whatnot. And now she had this trial, or it got pushed back. I'm not really sure. I kind of fell off the conspiracy wagon there, but then you have this list, right? This fucking infamous list where it's going to expose all the people. Donald Trump's on there 86 times. Well, Clinton's on there 26 times. And you had all these people saying that, oh, January's a day, and then there were lists out there where it's just like plain as day. Something okay, so these are manufactured, but I'm just just kind of getting your guys' thoughts on it from a standpoint. So he had like this judge who was in charge of the Maxwell case. And a FedEx driver drove to their house, allegedly, and murdered her son in front of her and shot her husband, too, and he was wounded. But obviously there was an attempt of life there, or to end life. And so then he followed that, and then he found out that the FedEx driver was actually killed, too, a couple weeks later. So as far as facts go, I'm not sure how much there are in that statement, but that is something that is floating around the internet.
Eric, did you just get zooted?
No.
I think you just TikToked at us. You got to clip that out and put it on TikTok. You're going to have 1 trillion followers like tomorrow. Fucking Christ.
Keep preaching, brother.
Yes. Amen. Yeah, 1 like equals 1 amen in the comments. God bless.
To our Lord and Savior, Obi-Wan Kenobi. All right. Zach, take it away.
I mean, like, here's the thing is all of a sudden, like, you see a lot here on the internet, like, if someone's accused of being bad, like, even just accused of doing bad things, all of a sudden people are, like, making attempts on their life or, like, threatening their life. And you see this shit all the time. Like, you see it with, like, sports. Like, someone will, like, foul someone too fucking hard in a basketball game, and all of a sudden they're getting fucking, like, letters from these absolute fucking psychopaths about, like, I'm gonna kill your family type of shit. So I would fully believe that, like, and like with the way you are able to gain information now, like I think it'd be pretty easy for a random FedEx driver who's off his fucking rocker and like listens to Alex Jones all the goddamn time to like have a gun, because in America we don't really regulate whether or not you have a gun. You just get to have a gun here. You're basically born with a gun, and then someone's like, "Well, I'm just delivering packages, and I happen to have to go to this house because I have a package, and ta-da, that package is a gun," type of a thing. Like, yeah, again, like him being killed later, could that be like, just happenstance? Sure, fuck it. Why not? Could it be something reasonably? I fuck sure, why not? I guess. Like, I have no reason to not believe that something like that could happen, I guess. I don't know. My take is that I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, even like had Epstein not quote unquote killed himself, whether he did or not, like s someone was gonna get him. Like, someone's gonna get it fucking Wiener Schnitzel, fucking Weinstein or whatever. Like, someone's gonna get at him at some point. They're gonna be like, "You're a sick fuck," and they're gonna stab him. And then, like the guy who molested all those Olympic athletes, like he got fucking stabbed in prison. And there was recently another person, Derek Chauvin, that cocksucker. He got stabbed one few too many times, so he's not fucking. He's still with us, unfortunately, not R.I.P. So it's just life finds a way, as Justin alluded to earlier.
So I think my counter to that might be that, kind of like what you were saying, like, so all these people got it right, like their comeuppance came in a form of a knife to the back or murder in prison or whatnot. But if you're on that side of the political aisle, as far as being on the right, and you find out that there's a judge in charge of the Maxwell case, which is very much child predator, fucking sex trafficking, and all that shit. I think everyone would be like on the same side when it came to that. Like, not necessarily the murder aspect, but it would be hard for me to like be like, oh yeah, some crazy asshole shot the judge trying to bring justice to this, unless you were a part of it, which would be a next conspiracy theorist. So I'm just like, I'm trying to piece together, like, why would you go after the person that could bring light to a situation that probably a lot of people would be in agreement on that is bad, and have justice be served, I guess.
I'll bring it back to religion, man. Like, dude, it's the pastors are fucking molesting kids left and right, and you don't see anyone calling for their fucking heads all the time. Like, I mean, on the internet, sometimes people go, "Well, I would." It's like, okay, well, yeah, your local pastor in Oklahoma comes out as being molesting kids, the one you've gone to your entire life. You ain't going to, buddy. I don't give a shit. You're gonna say God bless, and you're gonna fucking carry right on, like, and not give a shit. It's a thing. Like, it seems to be a thing on that side of the aisle at this point, where they'll talk a big, I'm going to throw fists at everyone who fucking touches kids. And then all of a sudden, again, like their pastor they grew up with comes out as, I'm very gay and I've been touching kids, or, or whatever it is. And they just suddenly don't care anymore.
Yeah. The fact that they're like, it goes all the way up in the Vatican. Like, it's not just a few bad eggs. It's all the way to the top, where they're like moving people around to avoid punishment.
Yeah.
And silencing people and whatever. Had a history of killing people, killing kids. Wasn't that in Canada, where they found a whole bunch of unmarked graves? If you still support that organization, you are complicit. Like, full stop. If you're still giving them money, you're complicit in that. So I guess, like Zach said, I don't really believe the guy that says, "Oh, if I would fucking turn him in." No, you wouldn't, because you still go there and you pay your fucking tithing to these people that are more or less supporting the organization that fucking still does it. What were we talking about earlier? Sorry, I fucking lost track.
No, I don't know. I think we
Got us off track.
Yeah, we were talking about Epstein's Island and all the kind of the cloud of conspiracy that surrounds all that, the assumptions people make, the fact that some random billionaire just bought it outright from international whatever, and nobody knows who it was, and it's being more subtle now, as far as like not having a giant gold dome on it. Okay, so just to stretch my conspiracy theorist legs a little bit and kind of touch on the old 3 a.m. Eric. What about the pictures of the Bill Clinton in the dress on a chair and what's his nuts? That guy Bush, with a paper airplane.
Baby
and
Bush, or Big Bush?
Baby Bush.
Baby Bush.
Baby Bush. Ah,
Tree doesn't fall far
yes.
from the nut. That guy.
Yeah. Now watch this shot.
Yeah, watch it drive.
Watch this
Yeah, watch this drive. Legendary moment in American politics, by the way. Absolutely legendary moment.
And then they have him with a paper airplane in front of 2 crumbled Jenga towers. Like, those are real paintings that existed in Epstein's house in New York. So I'm just wondering, like, what do you got? Like, what is that? Like, is that like just funny? Haha, there's a bunch of Clinton in a dress, like or is it like a, hey, guy, I have this picture of you, and then I also have secrets of you, and that could ruin your career, your life, your family. And then you have the Bush, obviously, with the hottest conspiracy thing being that he was very much aware of the 9/11 attacks and that they capitalized off it with Cheney. Have fun.
Next.
The pieces are all there. You put it together.
So, God, that's a lot of shit to fucking talk about all at once.
Well, just 2 pictures.
Right, but two very different circumstances.
Okay, so you have Billy Boy, Slick Willie, in a dress on a chair, pointing at the guy painting the picture of him. What do you think of that one?
I've never seen it.
Well, please look it up.
Sounds like he's having a blast. I think I would do that. I'd wear a dress. I'll wear a dress for this podcast.
When we do live shows, you can dress up, Zach.
There we go.
Good. Live show coming to a city near you.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear a fucking dress. It's going to be real short. I'm going to show my butthole.
It's better than his T-Rex impression.
It is. Only slightly.
Let's see. Fucking Clill Benton.
Oh, you're both on a list now. I see your face glowing over there, Justin. You're on a list too.
I'm too close to the. I got to back up. You can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh no, I can see it in your eyes, and you're on a list now, bud.
The painting that launched 1,000 conspiracy theories, but the artist says she has no idea Epstein owned it. So, what's the theory you're talking about, Eric?
That Epstein had it in his house, and when it was seized by the cops, it was weird, and it brought up like a bunch of people saying, "Oh, it's because he knew shit about Clinton. Like, he was on the island. He, diddled all those daddles." You know what I mean? So it was supposed to be like a.
The thing is, like, there's evidence that he was on the fucking island. So maybe someone was like, "Hey, I have this painter here. You want to get painted?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be a silly goose." Like, I could see that. I'd be a silly goose.
Then what about the Bush with the planes?
Well, I'm still on the painting.
Yeah, there are 2 paintings.
Go on the painting.
Okay, the artist says that they didn't know that Epstein owned it. So it was just a painting that he bought. Simplest answer, right?
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's still weird that it exists, but I guess again, if there's a painter and he's just having a silly goose time.
But from what I'm seeing is that she just painted it.
Yeah, like Kramer up there. There's our. For those of you on video, we'll just equate that to our one racial slur for the episode. It's just a shot of Kramer.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying, like, there's just weird. Yeah. Okay.
It's done by the same person that did the George Bush painting.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But that's what Eric saw on TikTok at 3 a.m. while he's fucking zoinked out of his head. They should have never legalized that shit in Minnesota.
Parsing Bill and War Games were shown at the 2012 Tribeca Ball. Okay.
Is that the party with the owl?
No, that's a different one.
It's all coming together. That's the party with the owl that Alex Jones was at.
Anyway, it sounds like they're both just coincidence.
Easy for you to say.
I mean, who among us has never knocked over a Jenga tower with a paper airplane? Pre 9/11.
It's not a picture.
Whatever, a painting. Whatever the. Okay, is a painting not but a less technological picture?
Yeah.
And it was painted in 2012.
Whatever.
It was after 9/11.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It was on 9/12.
So what? The goal, Rick, was to be like, hey, we know that you were aware of this, but again, it's like for blackmailing purposes, I guess. If that was lost on you guys, the conspiracy is we have these pictures. That's to remind you not to fuck up, to stay the course, never to tell the secrets that happen on the island. Like, that's the conspiracy theory behind it. And then, so with the planes and the bush, he was aware of it, that it happened. They had plenty of time or whatever. I will say that there is some information out there about 9/11 that gets you a little like, a little. Enough to ask a question or three. All right, that's what I'm trying to say here. Maybe I'll tell you what. I'll take all three of you on right now on this shit. I'll go get my goddamn marijuana and we'll have a hell of a time. That's what we'll do. But a freaking frog's gay.
Let's go. I want to see Eric Jones here.
Eric Jones.
Yeah, Eric Jones. Eric Jones.
The Dial of Destiny.
But you have, but you have. Okay, all right. We don't have to dive. That's another episode's worth of time here. But I don't know. It's just those paintings were there. They found it in his compound in New York, and they thought it was weird, so they brought it to the public, or at least it was released to the public, and the public thought it was weird. And I don't know. There's a bunch of people out there that I'm not going to dog on their intelligence just because we don't know the answer either. Like, we don't know what happened on the plane on the island and all that. So that's kind of where I'm at there. Like, you can't, like, and I get, like, if you're preaching it to people and you're trying to, like, say, no, this is what happened as an absolute, then you're a Sith, right, and that's what you deal in. So
Epstein was a Force user. Is that what you're?
That's what I'm saying, man.
Or like Alex Jones, I guess. Alex Jones is a user of the Force.
So that's where I think you got to be, again, not be intellectually lazy and just be like, it's got to be this. Like, why does it have to be that? Why does it fucking have to be? What evidence do you have for it? Can you fucking back this fucking claim up, or are you just pulling shit out of your ass? Do you want it to be true? Right? You have to check your biases. All of this shit goes into these conspiracy theories. They want, it's almost like they want someone to be in control of this massive fucking, so then someone's in control and it's not just chaos and we're hurtling through space on this fucking rock that no one's in control of, right? Maybe it's a sort of comfort for them.
Yeah.
Like mac and cheese.
I don't know. Yes, like mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese is
for the soul.
I eat burgers to make me feel better, yeah.
I can tell.
Oh.
Let me tell you about the round Eric theory. It makes him sexier.
Well, I'm laughing, but I'm gonna cry about this later. No, I'm
It's
just kidding.
okay. It's okay. Go tell your girlfriend that, like, we all thank her for her service of servicing you.
Jesus Christ. Shout out. Okay.
Way to take one for the team. I don't know.
All right.
You are way out of his league. Holy shit. I said as she delivered a microphone to me for like the third time. Hey, you're that weirdo from my fucking boyfriend's podcast, right? Here you go. Don't say anything racist because you look like it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Justin, what do you think about Epstein?
Oh, I don't think he killed himself.
Just in general, though. Do you like his vibe?
No.
What do you think about his artistic tastes with the mannequins and the glass eyeballs, along with fucking paintings at Bush and Clinton? Not
Well,
that
he's
Bush.
got good taste. So, I mean, he's got both sides. You can't say he's not an independent. So, I mean, he just comes across as somebody with a bit more on the creative side. Probably pissed off the wrong guy.
Just one.
You know, I'm just going to say I would take that painting of George Bush throwing a paper airplane at Jenga towers 1,000%. I would hang that in my house.
His head's too big.
Oh, I'll get a bigger house. I don't fucking what do you want from me? I guess I gotta move into a bigger house. You say my house is small?
No, his head is too big in the painting. It's not proportional to his body. Getting a bigger house won't fix that.
That's even better. That's hilarious. Just fucking George Bush with this fucking super big head throwing a paper airplane that like someone else probably made for him at some Jenga towers. You can't tell me that dude could do any level of origami.
Probably just some cartoonist on a beach.
Yeah, they drew a caricature of him. He was just like, well, this will be fun. And he just drew that. Oh, no. Yeah, we all need Jesus. We need him. Remember, boys and girls, dinosaurs aren't real. They're there to test if you're gay for Jesus.
I promise this podcast has a point.
No, you cannot promise that. Don't, don't write checks your ass can't cash, Eric.
No, I don't know. I guess we can kind of wrap things up here, but
go to our Facebook group, Against the Grain, that we don't have yet. We're going to start one up, and our first question is, what do you think of Jeffrey Epstein on a personal level?
Art from the artist. You got to separate them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Keep it to 40 characters, please.
Yeah, keep it to one tweet length.
Yeah.
And
Well,
watch Behind the Curve. Let me know what you think.
I just want to say, Justin, thanks for coming on. We'll probably have you on again, and we'll kind of, stretch our legs a little bit more. And we appreciate you taking the time, and I hope that you found some value in this stream of conversation. But I think I can speak for all of us when we say we appreciate your time here.
Oh, sure. I mean, I've had an itch that needs to be scratched, and it's a pod itch.
I'll scratch you.
They make powders for that.
Alrighty. Well, any final words from you two gentlemen?
I already said it, but go watch Behind the Curve. Then let me know what you think on our non-existent Facebook.
We actually do have a Facebook page, I will say that.
Well, then do that on that one.
Follow it, and tell us what you think of Jeffrey Epstein.
I get a sad notification every other week saying, "Hey, you had one view this week."
It's right after you looked at it.
Because no one's maintaining that Facebook page. I'm telling you that right now. But
probably somebody from Rhode Island too.
Yeah. Should we go through some stats? No, fuck it. We'll do that. I can do that off air. But all right. Well, thanks for dropping in. This will be all trimmed up so we sound intelligent, and we'll see you guys next time, probably.
Love you.
Probably.
Byron.
See you later.